It's your boy Joe.
This your boy Greg. We the co-pilots from Coast to Coast. We do the most, so what's your flight? Whatever it is, we got you covered.
Hey man, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the live stream tonight, man. Thank everybody for just rocking out with your boy, man. How you doing today, Greg?
Everything good, man. Just same as usual, man. Out here on the road, man. I here in Indiana right now, headed to Chicago.
Okay, that's what's up though, man. Okay. And just sitting here, just know what I'm saying, getting everything ready. We actually streaming on two. I wish you could have been on the TikTok tonight as well, because we streaming on TikTok, but we gonna get right into it, man. Let's talk college football tonight, man. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot to talk about on college football end, man. You know, we Lane Kiffin, Miami, Notre Dame, man. Who gets in, man? So there's a bunch of questions that's out there. And Greg, I want to just get you started off, man, with this thing. Is Notre Dame, Miami, man. Like, both seasons is ended, and we see way the college football is shaping out. The polls is coming out tonight. Who gets in, man? Do you think both get in, and do you think there's a case that uh maybe only one of them get in?
This situation tricky, man. It's pretty much boiled down to the playoff series a couple of years ago when you had Alabama and Texas. Although Texas, was the winner of the meeting between the two earlier that season, but Alabama had a quality win when they went to beat Georgia in the SEC championship. So it pretty much plays out, like that situation, even though you can argue that the SEC, those guys had more quality opponents, you know, and you could say that late in the season, although Miami won the head-to-head matchup, when you look at down the stretch, um, Notre Dame losses to ranked opponents, and when you look at Miami, they lost against to inferior opponents. So that's pretty much the win. But at the same time, you can never undermine the fact that when they had the head-to-head matchup, Miami won. So, but I think but the tricky part is that Miami lost to unranked teams. I want to say they had two unranked losses. So I think that's where the tricky part is going to come in at. I think when you look at Notre Dame record, how many losses they got?
They got
One,
two losses
two
too.
losses. They got two losses. Miami got two losses. Um, so I think, man, that's going to be a tricky scenario in that situation right there. But if I'm being honest, man, I have to go with the head-to-head matchup. I have to give it to Alabama. Not saying that it's going to play out like that, but if I was to judge the situation, I would have to go with I have to go with Miami. You know, but at the same time, when you also consider this as well, is either team going to be in? We know that it's going to be hard for Miami to get in due to the fact that they're not playing for the ACC championship. The ACC, man, we don't know if they're going to allow two teams to come in. You get what I'm saying? So that and when you look at it in that situation, that would give a team like Notre Dame the advantage because they're not limited to conference matchups and things of that nature. So that's but it's a tricky scenario. But if I'm weighing on the two teams, I have to go with Miami.
Well, for me, man, I'm gonna look at it like this, man. I think Miami do make a case for them to get into the college playoff. I think the biggest thing for me is when I look at these two teams, I feel like Miami got worse and Notre Dame got better. If you look at the start of the season, I mean, the two losses that they got, man, was against teams that are ranked. I mean,
Right.
obviously it was against Miami. They're the lower ranking team, but then you lost to the number 3 team at the time in Texas A&M. So those are good quality losses, in my opinion. When you
Right.
look at Miami, dog, the losses, bad losses. Louisville, they're not even ranked no more. SMU, another team that's not even ranked no more. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you look at those losses, it's like those are bad losses. Now, granted, I know everybody gonna say, well, Notre Dame, they don't play in no conference, they're an independent team. I just think that you got to take care of the games you got to take care of, man. If you take care of those games, man, you didn't even worry about that, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, dog, you pretty much lay up and getting into the college playoff. You probably had the easiest path of any Power Four team getting into the playoffs, and you lose outside of. I mean, let's not talk about the Big 12, but a team that I didn't think would get two teams in looked like the Big 12 gonna get two teams. Texas Tech, probably possibly BYU, and
Correct.
we didn't think that was gonna happen at
Right.
the start of the season.
Well, to your point, man, and you make a good point on that. When you look at down the stretch, what team got better down the stretch? You get what I'm saying? And it's the same like with the NFL. You judging these teams, according to what they're looking like late in the season. You know, and so when you look at late in the season, yes, Notre Dame is the better team. So it's just hard to get around the head-to-head matchup when both teams, have the same record. But like you said, and you made a good point, you look at the quality of losses or whatnot. Notre Dame lost to two. They two ranked. They two losses come from ranked opponents, and on the other hand, Miami two losses come from inferior opponents. They're not even ranked. So, and I think that's something the BCS. I mean, I'm talking about the BCS. That's what the playoff committee going to look at. And like I said, it's going to be hard. That's going to be a hard decision for them to make. You get what I'm saying? Like I say, and I think the only thing that may allow Miami to get in is the fact that Notre Dame is being considered. I think outside of Notre Dame being considered, I don't even think that Miami stand a chance of getting in with their two losses.
Right.
Out, you get what I'm saying? Because you have Virginia, you got Virginia and Duke playing for the ACC championship. Now, although we don't see any of these teams doing that, but one of those teams got to win the ACC. And I think that when either team, one of those teams, going to get in the playoff, they're going to secure a playoff spot. And outside of that, um, outside of that, Miami could be that other team. But at the same time, that's if they're going to put the playoff committee is going to put two ACC teams in the play, and they could get a favorable vote due to the name, due to their program.
Yeah, man, and that's the thing though too, man. When you look at this though, man, I feel like I think Miami is one of the best teams in the country. I'm not gonna sit here and say that they're not one of the best 12 teams in the country, but I think what fucked it up was the ACC didn't do no justice to Miami, bro. Like, how did you change the rules of the way y'all take away conferences within within the conference? Where it's two sides, so now where y'all got like a round robin type thing, and your best team not even playing in it because of the rules you made during COVID. So it's like now you're reaping the all the backlash from all the stuff that you did in COVID, and now it's like, man, bro, like, I mean, let's just say for the sake of argument, bro, and I think this is going to happen, man. This is a big possibility. What if Virginia loses in that game?
Right there, you have to put Duke in, and that's it.
Exactly. Do you put Duke in, or do you put Miami? These are questions that the college playoff is going to ask, bro. When ACC just made their conference look like not a Power Five conference, a Power Four, a Group of Five right now, man. That's
Well,
how it's looking.
when you look at it now, when you look at far as like when you're dealing with the playoff, you get what I'm saying. And it's a little different when from a couple of years ago when they kept us out of the playoffs. You know, you can pretty much afford to have a lopsided game or two now. You get what I'm saying? Look at how many we
Mhm.
had last season, and a
Right.
lot of these was again with opponents like SEC teams that got blowed out. Even Big 12 teams, people that the playoff committee thought highly of. So you can afford to have these lopsided matchups now because you have so many teams in, as long as the bulk of the product is playing to the level of expectations now. You get what I'm saying? So you could allow a team like Duke in. And we know that if Duke get in, we don't see them doing that. We feel that they would get beat the first round. You know, but you can stand to have a especially early in the playoff. You know what I'm saying? Versus when you just have just two matchups to decide who's playing for the national championship.
Yeah, man, and that's the thing, man. It's like, you know, it's just gonna be, it just put the college playoff in a big bad predicament right now with the way things is with Duke, man. And that's the thing that I just feel like, bro, that's the biggest thing that cannot happen, bro. If Duke fuck around and win, bro, now you got a team that's not even in the top 25, and you know what I'm saying, they got 5 losses going into the college playoff, bro. I mean,
Right.
that's just like how I've been bitching about, out here in Florida, with the high school playoffs where they got losing teams in the playoffs. You get
But
what I'm saying?
but
So it's
nevertheless, Duke did what they was supposed to do. Out of all the teams in the ACC that had a chance, Duke covered their end of the bargain if they win. So I would not hold a team like Duke out because Miami, you had a chance. You didn't take care of business. You had the best team in the ACC. Same way when you look at teams like Clemson, when you look even Georgia Tech, you
hmm
know all these teams had a fair chance to make things go in their favor. You get what I'm saying? It's like you wasn't even asked to go undefeated. You was asked to win the games in front of you in a weak ACC conference. So a team that get left, especially a two-loss team that get left out of the ACC, a two-loss team in the ACC that get left out, it's like you really cannot, feel sorry for them because you had every opportunity in the world against a trash ACC conference.
I agree, bro. I definitely agree with that, man. And I just think that you got a lot of fake outrage out here, man. Now I'm listening to people that just talking about it, and you got a lot of Miami fans that's like, man, they feel like their team shouldn't be left out. And like I keep telling them, bro, again, you should have took care of the games you're supposed to took care of,
Right.
and you
Easy
cannot
games.
blame nobody but yourself if you get left out
Correct.
because you did not take care of the games you're supposed to take care of. If you just look at the ACC, dog, it's crazy. Miami lost to SMU team that got blowed out by a Wake Forest team that got blowed out by FSU team. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and this same Wake Forest team finished in ACC with an 8-5, I think an 8-5 record, or either they finished with at least 8 wins. I want to say that, and,
Right.
and that just tells you in totality how bad the ACC is because the same team that got blown out, Florida State, they finished in the bottom third and third from last place in the ACC.
Correct.
So it's like, this league was so wishy washy, and that's why I say Miami can't fans can only they can only blame themselves because they should have took care of business with this loaded roster they had. I mean,
Absolutely
they
right.
they, they should have took care of business, dog. There's no excuses. Now, a lot of people say on the Notre Dame side, they like, well, our quarterback lost. It was his first start. He was a freshman. And the same thing I'm gonna say to y'all. Y'all should have took care of business. But to Notre Dame's offense, they had a tougher schedule in the front end. I want to say they probably had one of the more tougher schedules the first part of the season. If you want to, if you being honest, to go
Right.
back, play Miami, play A&M, then you go on the road and got to play an Arkansas team and an SEC team. Like they had a tough schedule, so I have to give the Notre Dame, and I hate to say it because they got better over time. Now people going to point to the stats, rushing defense, all these other intangibles to say that basically they about the same team. But again, at the end of the day, I'll have to look at the 2 losses Miami had, and if I had to pick, I would have to go with Notre Dame just based on the 2 losses. But again, I still do think that Miami is one of the top talented teams in the country.
Right.
So let's talk Lane Kiffin, man. Lane Kiffin, another dude that's been in the news line in the college world, man. He took the job at LSU, man. And we talked about this on the phone before we did the show today, man. You know my thoughts, man. I thought he should have stayed, bro. I
Right.
thought he should have stayed, man. And he had a whole legacy he could have left back at Ole Miss and could have been like a Bobby Bowden or a Nick Saban, those type ilk coaches, and could have built his name at Ole Miss. But I forgot how Lane Kiffin was, bro, and I had to go back to when he was at Tennessee. We forget he was at Tennessee one year, Then he dipped and went to USC because he said that was his dream job at the time. Didn't work out at USC. Went into hibernation with Nick Saban. Did a Nick Saban remake over. Took the FAU job. Bounced on them. Went to Ole Miss, and we see what he doing at LSU. This guy, this is what this guy DNA, dog. He does this, dog. And for me, I felt like he should have took care of the players. If you really care about the players, bro, you would have been like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna wait to the end of the season and then I'm gonna make a decision. But right now, let's focus on winning these games. My team in the college playoff." He didn't do that. He allowed all this shit to happen.
Right.
Greg.
Oh man, listen, man. I feel as though he should have stayed at Ole Miss, man. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much for the same reasons you said. You know, when you look at a coach like, and I always point to Bobby Bowden, not just because I'm an FSU fan, but you got to think that the type of legacy, not that Bobby Bowden his contribution, but what he built. You get what I'm saying? Like when
Right,
you look at people like Nick Saban, right? Nick Saban was a part of the contribution to Alabama, but it was built from the people that came before him. You get what I'm saying? From the coaches that came before him. When you look at Urban Myers was part of that contribution at Florida, but it was built, you know, when you start looking at, you know, the Steve Spurriers or whatnot, you know what I'm saying? And like, you know, with Alabama, with Bear Bryant, when you look at these coaches, and it's the same with like when I brought up Florida State, you know, Jimbo Fisher was a part of that legacy. He contributed, but when you look at the cornerstone of Florida State, you always go. And when you look at the cornerstone of Florida State history, you got to look at Bobby Bowden. You get what I'm saying? That's who built the Florida State culture brick by brick. And this is one of the things that, like I say, man, a lot of coaches, it's like they're scared to do. You know, they don't want to put the groundwork in. They don't want to, you know, and I get it. Sometimes it's hard to do, so I get it. You get what I'm saying? But this is why I look at this, and this is the reason why I look at Bobby Bowden in such a highlight. You know, in you know what I'm saying? This is why I look at Bobby Bowden, you know, with the high ceiling that I have. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, it's one thing to contribute to a legacy, but it's another thing to build a legacy, you know, to be the cornerstone of it. And I think that, you know, when you look at Ole Miss, I don't know how many national championships they have, but I know it's like, you know, they're not considered when you look at far as national champion, when you looking at SEC legacy, they pretty much put on the look at, you know, as on the back burner. You know, they come in, they hit and miss or whatnot. And I think that Lane Kiffin could have been the guy that actually built this culture, man, built it, you know what I'm saying, with what he started with, you know, to continue to further the Ole Miss culture or whatnot. You get what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, you had people that come before him or whatnot, but it's like their success was limited in those times. I think that he could have really built the name that we could have put him as one of the, you know, like one of the pioneers, you know what I'm saying, the greatest coach in Ole Miss, you know what I'm saying, versus if everything failed at LSU, you know, I mean, pretty much, you know, they're going to look at coaches like Nick Saban. They're going to look at Coach Ed Orgeron. You
mm-hmm.
know, these are the guys they looking at, you know, like, okay, these are all guys from the, you know, from this school, man, who we think highly of. You get what I'm saying? These are the people you're going to be compared to. You know, these are the people you're going to be compared to. So it's like, man, it's one thing to build something, but it's another thing to contribute. But it come with a lot because you're always going to get compared to, you know, look at Kelly, Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is a decent coach, but at the same time, LSU has expectations that he fell short of. And so now you finna follow up behind that. So like I said, man, I thought he should have stayed at Ole Miss. It's unfortunate for that program, you get what I'm saying, but it is what it is.
Yeah, man. And the crazy part about it was, man, was as the more and more I dig on about this information about this whole Lane Kiffin thing is the fact that they say that if Caleb DeBoer would have lost in the Iron Bowl, that it was a big possibility that Lane Kiffin would be the next head coach of Alabama. They was gonna fire Caleb DeBoer, from
Mm,
what I've been hearing. They'll say the only reason why Lane Kiffin waited so long to make a decision was because he wanted that Alabama job. That's the job he wanted. But Caleb DeBoer took care of business in the Iron Bowl. They won, and now they most likely going to get into the college playoff because they're going to the championship game. You know, but I just thought that was very interesting that this guy waited all the way to the ninth hour to make his decision because he just thought that that job was going to open up,
right,
and it didn't. You know what I'm saying? He said he basically, from what they saying, LSU was the second best thing to the Alabama, basically, as far as
right.
resources and things like that.
And I can believe that because I was hearing the same thing you was hearing about. He had this job, like he pretty much been petitioning for this job for the last couple of years. Especially years ago when he was waiting on Nick Saban to come out the door, and he's been petitioning for this job. But it go back to what I was saying, man. A lot of these coaches, man, they don't want to start their own thing. Now, granted, certain programs you're going to go to, you're not going to get recruits or whatnot. You get what I'm saying? But let's be honest, man. Lane Kiffin is not a bad recruiter, and he don't seem like he's a bad coach. You get what I'm saying? But it always going to fall to this. You go to a program like Alabama, you're going to get the recruits that you ask for. But if you fall short of success, man, they're going to ask for you to be up out of there. You know, and
Exactly.
and I think it would have been a bad thing for the program to let go Caleb DeBoer because sometimes you just got to be patient. Now, it would have been a bad thing to lose in the Iron Bowl against Auburn. But you have to be sometimes, man. You have to be patient, man. You get what I'm saying? It's like you can't always be so quick to get rid of your coach. You know what I'm saying? Things of that nature. Like when I was talking about with Ohio State with their head coach. They was
Right.
ready to get rid of him. Look what happened. He won the national championship. It was the same thing with Michigan with Jim Harbaugh. They was ready to get with him. Look at him. He won the national championship. Bama early this season. They talked bad about him after he lost to Florida State. But look at what he was been able to do after the loss against Florida State. And so now you have your team in playoff contention, which pretty much they're in there. They're gonna make it. They're gonna make the playoff. They're playing. I think they're playing for the SEC championship too, ain't
Yeah,
they?
it's Alabama Georgia rematch.
Yeah, that's a rematch. I just thought about it. So they're not. It's not written in stone for them, but at the same time, they control their own destiny with a win against Georgia. They control their own destiny. So I mean, like, damn, they still. I mean, the verdict probably could still be out for them. But like I say, man, you still have to be patient with your coaches or whatnot. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Caleb DeBoer seemed like a good coach. Let's be honest. Everybody's not going to be Bear Bryant. Everybody's not going to be Nick Saban. We
Big
cannot
fact.
we cannot keep putting these expectations on these coaches, and when they fall short of them, we get rid of them. You get what I'm saying? So that's just what it is.
Yeah, man, and I agree with you on that though too. With the coaches, man, they have to be a little bit more patient with the coaches. Um, but I will say the fact that that Nick said now, I mean that they was able to uh just move off of him that quick, man. And I think one of the big things that's going to be key is the NIL money that they offered Lane Kiff. They're giving him. They're giving him $25 million in roster construction. That's going to be key because now you're going to have that part of some of these deals with these coaches moving forward. Okay, how much money you giving me to build a roster? You know what I'm saying? And I think, I mean, to be honest with you, this is something that's we got, as far as the landscape of college football, can these universities keep up? Can a Florida State keep up with $25 million and that's just spending on the roster? You get what I'm saying? Can we keep
Right.
up? I mean, with us a losing team, is people gonna be willing to give up that type of money to see what type of roster you build? So I mean, this is big, man. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to this with this Lane Kiffin thing, not only did he get the bag, but he got the money. So like you said, bro, now you getting $25 million to build a roster. Y'all gotta win, dog. Ain't no more waiting to we gotta see what develops. Giving you $25 million to build a roster, you asking for a college playoff spot pretty much. Like you gotta be in the
Right.
playoff. Ain't no way
Right.
around it.
And especially with the with the how easy it is to get into the playoffs. Now it's not like the BCS, only two teams getting in. It's 12 teams, so you have, with the money they're giving you, you have to be one of these 12 teams.
Absolutely, man. But that's any final thoughts on college football, man? Cause we got a lot more to talk about tonight, man. You know what I'm saying? I even got a little boxing there to talk about tonight too. Even that, man. Did a
Right.
little research on that. So if you want to, we can follow. We can go right to the football talk, man.
Go ahead.
NFL. So let's talk about another topic, man. No big game that came on, man. We talked about this earlier. Mike Tomlin being overrated, man. I mean, I know that the Steelers right now sitting at 6-6. Start off with the division lead. They slowly lost it now. I think the Baltimore Ravens might be in first place now. And they got to go up and play these guys. I think next week they got to play these guys, the Ravens and these guys. So it's gonna be for the first place division. But there's a lot of talk saying that Mike Tomlin is overrated, man. That he can't get it done. And ever since like key coordinators like Dick LeBeau has left, Ken Wisenhunt, all these guys like that. Not Ken Wisenhunt. I think that was what's name, Bill Cowher. But mainly on the defensive side of the ball, that he haven't been the same coach. So you got a lot of people just saying, hey, it may be time for him to be gone. So what's your thoughts, Greg?
Um, Man, it's crazy. And I said this. I did a video about this early in the season when they ended up getting Aaron Rodgers off the free agent. I say, man, what him and the Steelers franchise is doing, they're pretty much they pretty much setting a scenario up where if things don't go right, you know, Tomlin's going to be seen as this coach that can't get the job done, all because you have Aaron Rodgers, quote unquote, you know, and you looking at Aaron Rodgers basically a name. Aaron Rodgers is not the same guy. He is not the same guy. Let's be honest. Like a lot of these coaches that Aaron Rodgers, well, I'm not gonna say because the verdict. I mean, Aaron Rodgers played under some good head coaches or whatnot, but I would say I would say Mike Tomlin just as good as these coaches or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And for people to say that he's overrated, man, you always got to take this into consideration. And I know people don't like it, but when you overachieve, you get what I'm saying. Still, is a lot of these teams, a lot of times, man, had teams that wasn't supposed to make the playoff, supposed to been under 500. You always got to take into consideration. Tomlin never had a losing record with quarterbacks like Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett. You got to consider these. You know what I'm saying? Even the years when you had Ben Roethlisberger and he got old. Ben Roethlisberger wasn't the same guy, but you had these expectations that he should have made the Super Bowl or something, and which was crazy. So, I think the Steelers fan base need to tone it down. I think really, man, for Mike Tomlin, man, it's pretty much. I think for Mike Tomlin, man, I probably be trying to get up out of there, man. You get what I'm saying? Because when you have, I think with the frustration with the fan base and things like that, there, it made ownership made a move where you feel as though I gotta get a guy like Aaron Rodgers. I gotta bring in Jalen Ramsey. I gotta bring these guys in to satisfy the fan base. And a lot of times the fan base don't know nothing. Only thing the fan base know is simple stuff. You get what I'm saying? And it's a reason why you got these dudes that are GMs and coaches that's over these teams because they have their guys that they got to go, to make these decisions that evaluate the talent and things of that nature. But when you have somebody that a fan that just watch part of the game on Sundays and think he know everything. These are the people that you competing against. You know what I'm saying? So I
Right.
think that pretty much, man. Those things that went on in the off season at the end of last season played a factor into how the Steelers handle their situation going into the offseason. They feel like they had to make a drastic move because, the narrative was, even though Mike Tomlin didn't win, prior to Ben Roethlisberger, we knew that he did not have a competent starting, quarterback on his roster since Ben Roethlisberger. So you know what the franchise do? Say, okay, we'll bring in a quarterback. Bring in and this probably was part of his doing as well. We'll bring in Aaron Rodgers, which I think that it was a good pickup, but not for him because at the same time his lease has gotten shorter, and if you underachieve, this is how you're going to be looked at.
Yeah, man, I agree, bro. I think for me, man, I think it still got to do a hard reset, dog, hard rebuild, man. I think you just look at the way the season's going for the Steelers. I think Tomlin for so many years they've been plug and play, plug and play. Like we need a quarterback. Let's try to find a quarterback in free agency. Let's draft a quarterback. We tried with Mason Rudolph, it didn't work. We tried with Mr. Trubisky, didn't work. Okay, let's go get a veteran guy. Let's go get Russell Wilson. Let's go get Justin Fields. Let's go get Aaron Rodgers. So now you've tried it every other way. You've drafted, didn't work. You try to get a veteran guy, didn't work. We know you're not going to be sitting at the top of the draft because they are a team that's usually competing for the playoffs. At this point, you just may have to just go through a hard rebuild, man. And maybe it is not what the fans want, but you might have to go through a losing season where you don't win, maybe 5 games, 4 games, where you picking at the top of the draft so you can get a quality quarterback. But I think you really have to seriously look at that. Is Tomlin the guy to rebuild with? Maybe his voice has grown old. I do agree, Greg. Maybe it may be time for him to get up out of the new voice. But like I said, if the Steelers let him go, who you gonna replace him with? Because I'm
Right.
guaranteeing you, if he get let go by the Steelers, I guarantee you're gonna have about 9, 10 other franchises lining up to get Mike Tomlin because
Oh,
he's just
absolutely,
you know what
absolutely.
I'm saying? So I mean, I think if you're a Steelers fan, you're pretty much in a hard place right now. Damn if you do, damn if you don't. That's kind of where you at though with Mike Tomlin, dog.
Right.
So sticking on the NFL, man, and the AFC, man, let's talk about the AFC playoff race, man. Like right now, man, this thing is getting thick right now. You know, you got the Patriots who got the number one overall seed, the Broncos sitting at number two, the Jaguars, Duval Jags sitting at number three. We came and took the spot from the Colts over this weekend, and then you got 6-6, freaking the Ravens sitting in the fourth spot. Now you got a whole bunch of teams in the fifth, sixth spot fighting for these spots. You got the Chiefs, you got the Texans, you got the Miami Dolphins that been crept in there, the Bengals that's in there back in there. You got the Chargers, you got the Bills, and then you got the Colts that are sitting in the playoff spots right now, man. So with all those teams and everything, man, how do you see the AFC shaping up right now, Greg?
Um. Well, we know the Colts, man. The Colts pretty much one of those teams that's gonna get in. Like, let's just say the playoffs start right now. They just say, the teams that's head of the conference is locked, hypothetically speaking.
Right.
Because we know some of them they can switch at any time. You know, I think the Colts probably be one of those teams to get in. Um, who else set in a spot right now in the wild card?
Um, the Bills
Bills.
and the Chargers.
I think the Bills get in. Um, oh man, KC got a lot to overcome. KC got a lot to overcome. When you look, I think outside of you got the only team I would consider with that third spot is the Chargers, KC, and Houston. But the rest of those teams, man, like when I look at damn what
Bengals and Dolphins.
when I look at the Bengals and Dolphins, man, I don't expect too much out of them. They so far behind. I don't expect too much out of them, especially it's about to get cold. The Dolphins ain't playing good, man. Tua arm strength is not going to sustain that cold weather, man, and that wind, man.
Yeah, man, I agree, man. I mean, they been slowly on like a 2 game little win streak. The Bengals, we gonna see what they about this weekend because there's a lot of big games coming up this weekend, man. You got Bengals got the Bills. So if the Bengals can take care of business, get the Bills, that'll get them to 5-8. So I mean, hey, they still got still a backdoor chance. I don't know who the Dolphins play this week, but I agree with you as well, man. I don't think the Dolphins do move the needle. The only one I'm really concerned about all those teams right now, I think the biggest game on the week for me, Chiefs play the Texans.
Yeah,
So I think one of them gonna knock each other out the playoff contention. You get what I'm
right.
saying? So if the Chiefs win, that's gonna knock the Texans out because now that's gonna put them a game ahead, and that pretty much put them at the same record, which would be I think the Texans right now sitting at 7-5, I believe. So if they lose, that'll go 7-6. I think they put the Texans at the Chiefs at both of them will be at 7-6. So now that just make it a little bit harder for the Texans. You know what I'm saying? Now the Chiefs it gets a little bit easier for them, but then again, I think they still got to play the Chargers again as well. So, man, to be honest with you, I don't want to see. I would probably say right now, I wouldn't want to see the Texans right now. Honestly, if you asking me a team that who I probably want to see right now, I probably want to see the Chiefs more because I think they're more vulnerable to get. I don't want to see the Texans with this defense right now. The way they playing with the defense, I don't think nobody want to see the Texans right now. Honestly,
Yeah.
in the way they playing defensively, but I think that if it's a team that can beat them, I think the Chiefs can beat them right now because they playing pretty much in playoff mode the rest of the way for the season.
Oh yeah.
You know, so let's turn our attention to the NFC side, man. When you look at the NFC side, you got right now the Chicago Bears got the number one overall seed in the NFC right now, surprisingly. Then you got the Eagles still there. You still got the Rams. Those are the top three spots right there. Then you got the the Bucks, and then sitting in your wild card spots, you have Detroit Lions. No, I'm sorry, not Detroit Lions. They fight for a spot now. You got the the Packers. I want to say the Detroit Lions. I think they're in too. Yeah, Detroit Lions, and I think the third spot goes to in that eighth that spot. Let me think. Seahawks. Yeah, that's the other
Seahawks.
team. Yeah, Seahawks. So your team just sitting in the wild card, but it's in the hunt. You got the Dallas Cowboys. You got the Carolina Panthers, surprisingly, with a 76 record right now, playing pretty good.
Right.
Um, and forget who the other team, but the ones that stuck out the most to me was the Cowboys and the Carolina Panthers, man. And so, do you see a pathway for the Cowboys get into the NFC into the playoff race into the playoffs?
Um, Cowboys playing good right now. I like how they playing all things considered or whatnot. I think Cowboys pretty much playing off emotions right now. But they have got better with Quillen Williams at the tackle spot. Anytime you got two deep solid D tackles or whatnot, that always going to be able to make your defense better, being able to stop the run. And I think that they got two run stoppers up there. And also Quillen Williams can rush the quarterback. Although you don't have too much help along the edge, but having that inside presence help around the edge. So I think that that's one of the things that's helping out along with their defense. So it's gonna be hard due to the fact that I think they just got it 500, but I think the most important thing for them, man, is to beat the Lions this week. It's still a chance for them. They're a hot team right now. We know what the offense can do. We know that, man. Once that offense get cooking, man, they are hard to stop. You probably looking at one of the bless you. You probably
Thank you.
looking at one of the best receiving cores in the league this year. You know what I'm saying? When you talking about offense that has been resurged, man. With the addition of George Pickens, they got that much better. They got that much better. You got two number one receivers out there. You got a run game. You got an O line that's getting together week by week, and Prescott, the veteran. So and in spite of what we thought about the Cowboys prior to the season, man, it's looking like how it's looking as of right now that a lot of those moves is panning out. We look at Schottenheimer as the head coach. He's been coaching pretty decent this season. Let Michael Parson go. I mean, I still wouldn't have never let Michael Parson go, but at the same time, you still have um, Quillen Williams and you have Clark and you have an extra first round pick because I think they might have used one of those first round picks to get Quillen Williams. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
I think when you got a player like that, man, you may argue that if you get a solid pass rush, you pretty much it's well worth it. You know, when you consider
Yep.
the type of player that Quillen Williams is, and not only him, the player that Clark is. So I like I say, man, it's hard to let a person like that, like Michael Parson go. But when you look at the moves that was made, it pretty much panned out. You just gotta hope they do the right thing with the picks that they make.
Yeah, man. I think it's like right now, man. I want to say I may have misjudged this Cowboy team because I think we all thought when they got hired Brian Schottenheimer, like, you know, this guy might not have been a good coach. But it seems like the players they rally around him. I mean, they got off to a rough start, but this the part of the year that you want to be playing your best football. And so for them to be playing their best football in December, we haven't seen that in a long time in the Dallas team. Usually, this is when they start to fall apart. This part of the season. This year they're actually playing well, and I like them against the Detroit Lions. I think they're going to win that game. Right now, Detroit is on the other end. I think they're another team that's like trending backwards, and I think this is a playoff game. I think Dak said in the playoff in the press conference they got to win them all. He
Right,
knows that they understand at stake what's at stake, and I think they're going to get it done. This Detroit team, when you look at them, dog, it's like they start the season off good, but then they've hit a rough spot now where I think that now that they got to figure out what type of team they want to be. Like I think when you look at this Detroit team, last year they was able to play a certain way, gutsy, going for it on fourth down and all those type of little things. They was a dangerous team, they was gutsy. This year I don't think it could be so gutsy because the guys are not making the plays that they were making like they was making last year. But I think sometimes you got to take them points, and I think they gamble a little bit too much in certain games, and it has cost them in games now because they're losing these games. And so I think now this is the prime opportunity for Dallas to hop on a vulnerable team. I think they can do it. They go
right,
take care of business Thursday night. Man, uh this Dallas team has new life, and I think they could possibly take that last playoff spot from Detroit because I think they're holding on by thread right now for that last final 7 seed spot. The Detroit Lions.
right.
But yeah, man, man, the playoffs is upon us, man, and it's getting better and better every week, man. So I didn't know if you want to talk about Jaguars, not if you want to talk about how they did tonight on their victory. We can go into that, bro.
I would say, man, we played pretty good. That's probably, and all things considered, man, Trevor Lawrence probably had one of his best games. You know, the numbers may not say it, but I would look at like far as with taking care of the football, not putting the football in harm's way. His accuracy, everything was on par with Trevor Lawrence, which was expected. And we know that, man. When you talking about the assignment from our old linemen, they had assignment. When you dealing with Jeffrey Simmons, you know, guys like that, man. We know that Tennessee can get after the quarterback. So, and I think that although it was a lot of pressure, he was able to move around, he was able to scramble, he was able to make quick decisions and whatnot. You know. So like I say, man, hopefully moving forward, man, we can start seeing this version of Trevor maybe even better, where he's taking care of the football more. You get what I'm saying? Maybe he may not be that generational talent that we need him to be, and maybe he will. But just get the small things right. Take care of the football. You get what I'm saying? And make the easy assignments.
I agree, man. This is probably Trevor Lawrence's third best game I think he played all season, in my opinion. Um, Still some throws out there to be desired. I thought we should have beat them 45-3 instead of 25-3, to be
Yeah,
honest. But Trevor did enough, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't turn the ball over, so I'm like, okay, that's good. So that was a step in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it's still left to be desired. The biggest thing that pissed me off this game that we got to get better at, and I don't think it's gonna get any better at this point in the season, is the penalties, dog.
right,
We still get caught way too many penalties. I think we had 9 penalties this game. You know, now it wasn't too bad. It wasn't like over 100 like yards. I think we had like 9 penalties, 65 yards, something like that. But that's still a lot of penalties, man. And we got to play smarter ball because as the season goes along, man, we can't continue to win games like this, man. Get what I'm saying? Like I want us to be able to win games the right way, playing complementary football, which we did do on Sunday. But at times, it just seems like the offense stalled, and then it's like put the defense on the field a little bit too, as long as exposed to defense. But I just think overall, we still got a lot left. I watched the interview with Leon Cohen today on NFL Today or whatever Monday Morning Football, whatever that show is that come on NFL, and he talked
right,
about that about saying that he kind of liked that the team is not playing perfect because it gives them and the coaches something to talk about during the week, things they need to work on. So, with that being said, I feel like if this team can continue to prove at least week by week, we should be fine.
right. And it's another thing I want, like, what I noticed with Trevor and whatnot. And I guess you could say it's a good thing, or you say it's a bad thing. And I noticed you review this year by year. Trevor Lawrence plays better when he don't have a go-to receiver. You know what I'm saying? In for his assignment. You know, um, let's date back, look at this season right here when Brian Thomas Jr. and it's not me saying that Brian Thomas Jr. is a problem, because players, receivers, and quarterbacks has to learn how to coexist. But he played some of his best football when he's not trying to force the ball to Brian Thomas Jr. Um, and even some of these other games that he did not play. We look at guys like Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers or whatnot, Brent Strange. These are what you may consider twos and threes, subpar receivers or whatnot. And he's able to do a lot with these guys. Let's think back to the second season when you had, receivers like Jones on the roster or whatnot, and Zay Jones or whatnot. Trevor Lawrence had his best season that year. Then fast forward to the next season, we got to go to receiver out of Calvin Ridley. We tried to force the ball to him, and Trevor Lawrence did not have his best season. He actually took a step backwards that year. You know, then look at the season after. I'll go to receiver Brian Thomas Jr. He took another step backwards. Now although our other court, I can't think his name right now. Our backup was able to play with him. It's
Matt
crazy.
Jones,
Matt Jones was able to play with him. Trevor Lawrence was not able to have that same type of success with Brian Thomas Jr. Now we look at this season, they still not in sync, but at the same time, we see that Trevor Lawrence have had some of his best success when he's not required to target a primary receiver as much. You get what I'm saying?
right?
So I think that's something the training staff should take a farther look into or whatnot. You get what I'm saying? Let him scan the field. We know that he's getting better at scanning the field. He can get the ball out of his hand quicker, whatnot. You know, but to not have him as have a you know him to lock in on a primary receiver or whatnot. Find the open guy and allow him to do that.
Yeah, man, I agree, man. We had somebody on the TikTok said that they think the Cowboys gonna win the division. I don't know about that, man.
They you got to think how many games they behind Philly. You get what I'm saying?
Right. I know they Philly they split the series with Philly. So I think that good on that one, 1-1. But did they lose? Did they lose to the Giants yet already?
No, I think beat the Giants
They beat the
twice this year.
Giants. They already beat the
Yeah,
Giants twice.
right.
It might be
I
good,
think
you know what
so.
I'm saying? But it's still, I mean, they got a long ways. I think what Philly's 8-4 right now, or 8 or 9-3. I think they're 8-4.
Right.
So I mean, they still got a long ways to go. They still, I mean, we'll see though, man. I mean, if they can win this game on Sunday, get to 6-5, maybe they have a possibility to catch them in this in catch division. I mean, right now the Eagles, they do know what I'm saying, a little vulnerable right now. But hey, man, it's a long race. I don't see them winning the division, man. But I can see them getting that wild card, Martin. So man, let's talk a little bit about, man. I know we got one more subject to talk about, man. I ain't know if you want to talk about boxing, man. I know you be on boxing, man, but I did recently see
You
that
want to go into the Shador Sanders thing first?
oh, I forgot about Shador. Yeah, let's talk about Shador.
Yeah,
Absolutely, man. I forgot all about Shador, man.
yeah,
So let's talk about Shador Sanders. Um, and we know what he had. He had his second start, was official first, was second official start in
yeah.
a losing
Second
effort.
official.
Second official start, losing effort. For me, the stats wasn't all that great, but I thought he did as well as he could in the offense that he plays in. Um, so a lot of people out there want to know is, I mean, have Shador silence the critics and show that he is a starting quarterback, or do you think that uh this guy's going to be on somebody else's roster next year?
I would say this. I don't think as of right now he has done enough to silence the critics or whatnot. But at the same time, I see it happening. You get what I'm saying? Like, I proposed that question on TikTok, and a lot of people took it the wrong way. It's not wasn't no right or wrong answer. But I would say this like, um, judging from what I see, I can see it going into that direction. You get what I'm saying? Like I see a lot of potential out of him. I see a lot of big play potential out of him. You know,
Right,
of course he can get better with getting the ball out his hand quick enough or whatnot, being able to see the field. He's making some of the mistakes that rookie quarterbacks make, but he also have made some of the plays that veteran quarterbacks have made as well. You get what I'm saying? And so I think that you're always going to have people that's going to be leery. They're going to be skeptic. They're going to be critical of him or whatnot for whatever reason, you know. And so, of course, he still got a lot to prove to them. But for me, I would say this: like I see things going in the right direction for him and whatnot. I'm not saying that he's the future starter, but at the same time, um, they have a good prospect to evaluate this for this season. You know what I'm saying? So I think even with in this loss, like I cannot blame it on Shador Sanders. You get what I'm saying? Like, how you can look and say, well, damn, the quarterback what didn't do enough. I would say that when you look at some of these, when you evaluate this game or whatnot that they just lost against, um, the coach pretty much took the ball out of Shador Sanders' hand. You know, think he got too conservative with Shador Sanders. You look at it on third and short, fourth and short. You went to a wildcat. You went to your run game. You did not allow Shador Sanders to make plays, and this is one of the things I want fans to understand when they're looking at the numbers or whatnot. You know, this loss I pretty much blame on the coach not being able to, the coaching staff not putting trust in Shador to just say, you know what, we're gonna allow you to get out here and win these games. Let's see what you can do. Now, I'm not going to say them running ball was a bad move. It didn't work out. But at the same time, when you're looking at the numbers and looking at the fact that they're lost, you can't blame this loss to say that on the fact to say that Shador Sanders was the reason that they lost this game, that he did not do enough. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Shador Sanders did what was asked of him. You know, he did, he kept, and he also against a good 49ers defense, he kept the ball out of harm's way, you know. So, yes, he had times he held on to the ball that end up being sacked, coming to, that contributing to him being sacked. And it was times that offensive line was bad as well. But let's look at this team as a whole. This is not a talented offensive team that he got over there. You know what I'm saying? You got players like Jared Judy. Their best player has been Junkins this whole year. He has been their best player. You know, Jared Judy is not consistent. He made a fuss going back and forth, but you got to think, man, you got a rookie quarterback you going back and forth with. You know, so and also, man, not only that, man, like far as on the field, you also have to look at how he's been carrying himself in the leadership role. You know, I like how he's been carrying himself in the press conference when the question always get asked by Kevin Stefanski. You know, he never throws shade on his head coach or his team. He always, point to, it always things I can do better, this, that, and the fifth. So that was one of, and although the narrative that's out there that, Kevin Stefanski is not putting him in the best situation to succeed, he never threw shade on his head coach. So you have to give him props, man, for in the press conference and in the field for carrying himself like a leader, man. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, I agree, man. He has been stepping up in a leadership role, doing some things. You know what I'm saying? I don't put the loss on Shadur either as well. I mean, I was not talking to you about this earlier, man. Was I feel like for Shadur's skill set, it don't match the Browns' offense or personnel. Like again, you know what I'm saying? They don't have really like when you look at this offense when he played in Colorado. Now he had a big play. He had big play wide receivers all over the field. Travis Hunter, the boy from Jimmy Horn. No, he had speed guys out there. You know what I'm saying? The wide out. He don't have that at Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that the offense is currently not doesn't fit Shador, and I think more and more as he plays, the more and more you're going to see that, yeah, he's not a good fit for this team. You know what I'm saying? Now, personally, I think that he might be out of there end of this year, man. I think, another team takes a swing at him, a team that it fits. It has to fit. And you got to be able to handle that locker room. I don't know. I don't think he's a quarterback of the future for the Browns, man. I really don't. Watching him play the last two games offensively, and I just think that the way they've handled it over in Cleveland, Kevin Stefanski, how they've pretty much have like allowed a lot of shit to happen, is I don't think he will be there next year. But I do think overall, though, man, in the sense of just this game, that you can't put loss on Shador, man. It was just hey,
I would say this: the coaching staff has to make it work, regardless of the type of offense you have, because you made it happen. You made it happen with quarterbacks like with Joe Flacco. So your coach has to be able to tailor his style, his game around the type of quarterback he has. You know what I'm saying? So I think that when it's all said and done, man, Kevin Stefanski, man, if he don't get on board, he's going to play himself out of job. And I think the Cleveland, it'll be unfortunate because I think the Cleveland franchise has a lot of faith in Kevin Stefanski. We all know he can coach, but at the same time, when you have a player out there, and we know that the fans is advocating for him, the front office is advocating for him, even people in the media is advocating for him. So when you have these people that's out there, man, and that noise is getting louder and louder, and you the only one that's not on board, and 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 people see that it's a chance that you could be the reason for his demise, the front office will get you up out of there. You know what I'm saying? And I think that we can that could happen if he don't tighten up. You know what I'm saying? So I think that in order for this to work, man, Stefanski got to get on board. You get what I'm saying? I think this team has moved on for Dylan Gabriel. You know what I'm saying? When you compare the two, Dylan Gabriel looked decent. You get what I'm saying? Um, of course, it's things that Dylan Gabriel did that was better than Shador, but it's also things that Shador did that was better than Dylan Gabriel. I think that Dylan Gabriel had, he had a quicker release. He understood the offense. He processed the offense quicker. But when you're talking about upsides, I think that Shador Sanders in the future would be a better quarterback. I think as of right now, and it's like when you look at, and I made this comparison earlier. When you look at the Jaguars, for example, when we had Garner Minshew and Trevor Lawrence was out there, Garner Minshew looked good. You get what I'm saying? He was able to process the offense that quick. He was able to, get the ball out of his hand quick. But Trevor Lawrence had the more of the upsides, and we know that when you have the arm talent, you know, catching up to speed with the offense, it'll come. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you don't always gain that arm talent. You have you have players that been in the league for years and still don't have great arm talent. But eventually, those who have they have the arm talent. Eventually, the game will slow down. Eventually, they will process and be able to scan the field quicker. You know what I'm saying? And then you start seeing that their style of play go to a whole nother level. And I think that this would be the case with Shador when you look at the comparison with Shador and Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel is a good quarterback, but I pretty much see him like I see Garner Minshew. You get what I'm saying? Could he be a starter for another team? Absolutely. You get what I'm saying? Because, just because I said um Garner Minshew doesn't mean I'm talking bad about him. You know what I'm saying? Everybody know that I'm a Garner Minshew fan. I got his jersey. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, Garner Minshew is limited. And it's the same I feel with Dylan Gabriel. His arm talent is limited. And Shador has the better arm talent. But we know that he is a project. He's not a finished project yet. And when time, goes on, and when the game start to slow down for him, you're going to see his game go to a whole nother level. That's just my take. What I believe that will happen with Shador Sanders.
Yeah, man. I think also too, man. You gotta. I think that can happen, man. But it also goes back to what team he lands on, man. And I'll say this, man. I feel like he should have went with the Ravens or the Eagles, man. Like, I mean, hindsight 2020. If you look at it, dog, both of those situations right now would be good for Shador, man. Um, I'm looking at the Ravens situation where he could have got some good quality game. While Lamar was hurt, and I thought he could have been good sitting behind a veteran quarterback like Lamar. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not getting no development, sitting with Joe Flacco. We know what Joe Flacco is. You know what I'm saying? You're not getting that behind Dylan Gabriel. So I'm like, get with a guy like Lamar Jackson, get with a guy like Jalen Hurts, who's gonna be relatively still playing, you know what I'm saying, and learn from them how to be a quarterback in this league, man. And I mean, it's still some things like you said. He's not a finished product yet, but it's like even when handling the media sometimes, like for instance, when he said, I'm just, I just, this is my first week. It ain't gonna tell him when I get a full year. And it's like, bro, like pump your brakes, dog. Like you don't handle that situation like that. Now you go into the den, but then you handle it in a good way. When you go in the media and you say, okay, yeah, man, you trying to set me up, like yada yada yada. It's still like a lot of nuances that I see from Shador playing the quarterback position that he needs. You know what I'm saying? That he could learn if he would have went under Lamar Jackson, if he would have went up under Jalen Hurts. And I think that, ultimately after this season, he will be going to another team, and hopefully he land a team that has a veteran quarterback he can sit behind and sit and learn from.
Mm. I think, man, front office really want to keep him though, man. I think the fan base, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and I'm not gonna say as much with the Tebow effect. Tebow scored one touchdown, the fan base would get loud. And I
Right.
think it's the same with Shador, not to that magnitude, but Shador scored a touchdown. You look at just watch the game. When he score a touchdown or make a big play, just watch the crowd. You see a
Right.
bunch of number 12 jerseys. And we talking about somebody that was drafted in the fifth round, a bunch of number 12 jerseys and whatnot. You get what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, the fan base know who they want. You know, and the fan base could be divided. But I think for like when you look at when you look at half that, they know who they want. You get what I'm saying? And I think ownership hoping that it pans out like that. The fan base and the ownership. I think that you have people in Cleveland that want him to succeed. And this is why I think that he could be the quarterback in Cleveland because it's people over there in Cleveland that want him to succeed. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, things have to be on par with him and his coaching staff,
And
and
I
that's
think
why.
that's the biggest rift though. Where I think that's why I feel like he'll be up out of there because I feel like the coaching staff is not gonna get on board. I think that they're so on like Dylan Gabriel is they got. This is the guy we want to develop around. I think this is the guy that they want. You know what I'm saying? Now, I do still think they go get a quarterback next year in the draft too. But I think Dylan Gabriel is the guy they want to keep on the roster. And I think, with Shador Sanders, yeah, we probably try him out the rest of the season, let him play it out, get as much game tape. But I do think that at the end of the year, if they go quarterback next year, especially if they go quarterback next year, they say they're getting a quarterback next year. I don't think he's on the roster. I just don't see a way if he's on the roster if they go quarterback next year. I think Dylan Gabriel will stay on the roster. I think he's a piece that Kevin Stefanski likes in his offense. Even at a backup in a backup capacity, I think they just like him on the roster. You get what I'm saying? If they go get a quarterback. But
That's if Kevin Stefanski's still there. If the front office think that he should be there, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
that's a
Because
caveat too though. Yeah,
so
not
that's really where I'm
that's
going.
a caveat.
Like if he don't get on board, I can see a scenario where management say, you know what, you're not on board. You're not. You know what I'm saying? Almost like the situation with Tua and
Brian
Flores.
Flores. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. That's true. True. Yeah. So I agree with that though, man. So any final thoughts?
Nah.
So man, let's talk a little bit of boxing tonight, man. I don't know if you heard. I know what's name Stevenson and Chris Stevenson. I think Timo they announced they're gonna fight.
Teofimo Lopez. Yeah,
Lopez they
yeah.
announced they're gonna fight, and then I don't know if you overheard this too. Usyk called out Tyson, called out Wilder. He said he want to
Oh,
fight
was it?
Wilder.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I just want to know your thoughts on that, man. You know what I'm saying on those two fights.
I think that man, that man, with Wilder, man, you want to see the best of Wilder fight Usyk. Usyk pretty much the best up there. You know what I'm saying in the heavyweights. So it's like, I guess to make a clean sweep in the heavyweight division. You take on Wilder because it's not too much up there. You know, and Usyk is getting older. So I mean, it's definitely be a fight I would tune in to watch or whatnot. But I got Usyk winning that fight, but I think that can be a fight that can turn Wilder's career around, get him back on track. Even with a draw, you get what I'm saying? Or putting up a good fight. But before Shakur Stevens, man, and Teofimo Lopez, um, I don't see that fight as being as exciting as Stevenson last fight against William Cepeda. I don't see it being as exciting, but I'm still gonna tune in. You know, both of them are defensive guys or whatnot, man. I don't see a lot of punch output being going to be put out. It's going to be like calculated moves or whatnot. It's gonna pretty much be a more of a boxing match than a fight. So, um, and I think it's the main event.
It
You know,
is
that
also
would be
too.
that would be a fight that I would have as a core main event. But like I say, those guys' names are getting bigger. But people may tune in due to the fight that how Chris Stevens' last fight was. But me looking at both their styles of fighting, um, I don't think it's going to be that as exciting as Stevens' last fight.
Yeah, Stevenson called out last fight and said, "Hey, man, he held his own. Like
He
he
did.
wanted to show everybody that he can box. He can go in there and box." I think with this fight, I still think it's another fight that another litmus test for Shakur Stevenson, man, because we
Mhm.
we 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 get on him a lot about being a boring fighter, and I think he's
Well,
tired of hearing it. I
well,
think
I,
he's
I
tired of
never
hearing
I never said he was a boring fighter. For me, he's not a boring fighter. Like I'm a defensive guy, so I like watching him fight. You
but
know,
for
but
go
when
ahead.
I make my what, like what I was just saying, it's like I know this is how everybody else, like the casual fan, is going to view it. You get what I'm saying? Me, I'm still gonna tune in. It's still gonna be a fight for me to watch. But when you talking about the excitement that what most people are looking for, most people is looking for knockouts, blood in on the ring and things of that nature. You're probably not going to get that this fight. You get what I'm saying? But for me, I like to watch. Like I say, man, I'm into the science of boxing and everything like that. There, so it's going to be a good fight for me. But for the casual fans, this is not going to be what they want to see.
I was gonna say, man, I don't know. And the reason why I'm saying I'm giving it a wild card fight, it could be an entertaining fight. Because like I said, Secure Stevenson know what the boxing community feel about him. And
Of course.
you know what I'm saying? So I think he got a little something to prove. I think Timmy Lopez got something to prove too. I think both of these guys got a little something to prove. So I think this fight might be a little fireworks a little bit. I think it might be you saying it's not going to be like the last fight, the Cepeda fight, but I think it might be a little bit more like that fight in the sense of both of these guys getting out there want to showcase. But
But
another
see,
fight go
but
ahead,
the
go ahead.
reason why I say it because Cepeda is a high volume puncher. Teofimo Lopez, his fighting style is similar to Secure Stevens. You get what I'm saying? He's a defensive guy. So like I say, I'm not going to say it's going to be a boring fight. I definitely highly doubt it's going to be a boring fight. But I know how people already got in their mind that it's going to be a boring fight. So when they watch it, that's how they're going to watch the product from the standpoint they already viewed it from. You know what I'm saying?
You know what you're saying?
Especially if it's not any knockdown. I don't see it being no knockdown. So, and this is what a lot of casual people want to see. So that's why I said it's for them. It's not going to be as good as that fight. It's same thing with Florida. People think Florida. I like watching Florida fight. I like to watch Florida highlights because I like to watch defense. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not into like slug. They're good. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong, but I like to watch people to be they able to defend themselves as well, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? To each his own, man. You know what I'm saying? And everything like that. But another fight that's coming up, I think it's this week, though, this weekend. Pitbull Cruz and what's the name they fighting? That's a
Yeah,
go.
Pitbull and Cruz.
Cruz and
Um,
what's the name? Roach. They fighting.
this
I like
this.
this fight though, man. This gonna be a
Oh
good
yeah.
fight, man.
Oh yeah.
Pitbull, that Mexican dude, boy, he ain't gonna back down. He got an ugly ass guard, that ugly ass little shit he used, but
Yeah.
that dude, he ain't no punk, man. I think this is gonna be, and the crazy part about it is two fighters that Tank didn't knock out. You know,
Correct.
Tank broke his hand on what's the name on Pitbull, and he never fought him again. And then we see what he's doing with Roach. So I think this is gonna be a good fight, man. I don't know if it's. I think it might be a possible knockdown. Somebody might go down on this fight, man.
Actually think this is going to be a good fight as well. You know what I'm saying? Um, Fighters like Pitbull don't disappoint, and we seen how Roach put on. That was a good fight as well. You know what I'm saying? That I saw out of him and Tank. So I think that this is going to be a good fight. Um, my thing is this, man. When you fight an opponent like Pitbull, man, you have to have defense or be able to have power. you know, and that's one of the ways to stop a person like Pitbull. Pitbull is what his name say he is, a pit bull. You know what I'm saying?
Real
And
talk, real talk.
but
Cause he coming at you the whole night.
but I think like this fight is very important for Roach because if he lose, he may not get the opportunity to fight Tank again. You know what I'm saying? So, and I know that that's a match that he won't because, you know, it would be a more of a lucrative fight for him to fight him the second go around because, you know what I'm saying? Not to mention that people think that you want that fight. So,
Mm-hmm.
this would be a fight that would be very lucrative for him, more lucrative for him when he fight Tank. But if he dropped the ball against Pitbull, that fight may be off the table. You know what I'm saying? Roach may not want to fight him again. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but I think that due to the fact that it was a draw, that fight still should because that fight still should they still should fight due to the fact that that was a draw. It ain't like it was a Tank got a controversial win. It was a draw, you know.
Yeah, man. I want him to get it back on, man. But like you said, bro, this one of those things where, you know, if Roach lose, man, it just fucks up all the hard work that he did in that Tank fight, dog. Everything you did go to waste.
Right,
So it's like, but then you look at a guy like Pitbull, like, bro, I want to get back to the top too. You know what I'm saying? You know, I want to flex my muscle. I think he want another shot at Tank too. I don't know if that
right.
fight ever happened, but I think he another guy that want to take another shot at Tank. So
You say
this
who
is a
that?
big fight. Pitbull Cruz.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like I think this is an important fight for both of them, but I think you know Roach is man, it's important for him. Like he gotta win this fight, man, because if he lose, you know what the narrative's gonna be. Well, you couldn't beat this guy, and we know that even though I thought that Tank won that fight against Pitbull, it wasn't one of his more impressive victories. It was like it was like okay, yeah, you won, but like yeah, like Pitbull kind of was holding his own, and people forget too that was a last minute fight that Pitbull took because remember the guy he was supposed to fight didn't fight.
Right.
So you know what I'm saying. So yeah, man, I think this is that's I think the boxing. I seen those matches and I thought we should talk. You know what I'm saying because it's a nice little slate of boxing matches coming up this
Yeah.
month.
Right, right, correct.
You know, but on that note, man, we're gonna head to our final segment of the show, Rivals and Departures. Greg, man, what you got this week, Greg?
Which one we start with?
Let's start with we can start with departures this week. Fuck it. We'll start with departures this week.
Oh, departure. I'm gonna let you go first because I gotta think. I ain't even thought about this part.
Okay,
Something come up.
departures this week, man. Florida State University, man. I think right now, um, we're probably one of the more 11 stops of college football right now. Holding on to Mike Norvell. Um, I thought that was about one to be one of the worst decisions the university did. All you doing is delaying the process to 2026 because this guy, we're not gonna beat Alabama and Tuscaloosa next year, man. Like, let's be real here, man. Like, we just delaying the process instead of just getting this shit done now. Mike Norvell is not our coach of the future, man. If anybody thinking that this guy's gonna get it turned around, I don't see it, bro. I don't see a way ahead. Yeah, you might get us up to a bowl game next year, maybe a 7-8 win team, but us competing for titles until we get another coach in there, we're not gonna be competing for championships like that. As far as Florida State, man, we gotta scale our expectations back, man.
Mm. I
That's
think
my
since I really can't think of one, I'm just gonna go with Florida State as well. Like Florida State, we looking bad. It's we see what happened. We lost to the Gators or whatnot. We see what happened next season.
my arrival this week, man, is Drake May, dog. I gotta put Drake May in there. These guys keep coming, dog. Like, second year, leading the league in completions. I mean, he's doing his thing, bro. MVP discussion. They sitting at 11-2 right now, the best record in the NFL. Gotta tip your hat to Drake May, dog. He doing his thing in his second year, dog. Can they keep it together? We'll see, man, because they have I think they got the easiest schedule so far in of the playoff team. So we'll see if they can keep it up once playoff time come. But right now, I'm gonna give it to Drake May.
Um, Mine, I'm gonna give it to Trevor Lawrence. I've been talking bad about Trevor Lawrence all season. Well, I ain't just been talking bad. The criticism been warranted. But I'm gonna get man. He was able to manage the game well, didn't put the ball in harm's way, and we actually played pretty decent in the red zone. He was pretty accurate with the football, so I gotta give it up to the Jags, man. Give it up to Trevor Lawrence.
That's what's up, man. And on that note, man, this concludes Co-Pilot Pilot episode 109, bro. It's your boy Joe.
This your boy Greg.
We out. Peace.
Yeah.